Okay, let's talk about the topic at hand, right? So the topic at hand is large Medicare Advantage carrier to cut prior authorizations by a third. What does it mean? Okay, so let's share my screen and go into an article about this specific thing that I found very interesting.
Oh,
So
look at this background. Oh my gosh. Shout out to Mr. Randy for getting this going.
Randy's a hero as far as I'm
He
concerned.
is.
We need to get him a
He's
medal.
a medal of
A
higher hero,
medal of
lead hero honor.
yes. Okay, so the article is titled Humana to reduce about 1/3 of prior authorization requirements. This is super interesting. This came out on July 23rd. It was on my radar for a while now, but we just have had other pressing topics to get to, so we didn't have a chance to get to it until today. So Humana said on Tuesday it would eliminate about 1/3 of prior authorizations for outpatient services by next year, the latest insurer to address the tedious paperwork process that has been a pain point for patients and providers. The company will remove the authorization requirement for diagnostic services across colonoscopies and I can't even read that word.
Transthoric?
Thank you.
I
We'll go
think.
with
I don't
that.
know.
Echo,
Yeah, I might be saying that wrong.
yeah, it's okay. Echocardiograms, we're not doctors, and select CT scans and MRIs by
Sometimes.
January 1st. Wait, but I play one on the podcast.
I did, yeah.
So, okay, select CT scans and MRIs by January 1st, 2026. So, relatively quickly here. Insurers have been facing increased scrutiny and backlash over the lengthy paperwork required to carry out specific services or treatment. While the companies have said it ensures people receive required care and helps to keep track of costs, patients have argued that the long process leads to care delays or denials. Today's healthcare system is too complex, frustrating, and difficult to navigate, and we must do better, said Humana CEO Jim Recton. The killing of the head of United Health's insurance unit last year had ignited significant social media backlash from Americans struggling to receive and pay for medical care. Okay. Let me see if there's any other interesting things to kind of get to here. Several health insurance have taken additional measures to simplify their requirements for prior authorization and medicines and medical services. America's health insurance plans, the industry's trade group, said last month health insurers would work to develop standardized data and submission requirements for electronic prior authorization by January 1st, 2027. United Health said in March it would ease requirements to get insurance authorization when renewing prescriptions on about 80 drugs, aiming to eliminate about up to 25% of reauthorization requirements. So anyway, the long and short of it is about a third of services that were requiring prior authorization before, according to Humana on their Medicare Advantage plans, will no longer require them come, I guess, January 1st of this upcoming year, 2026. What is your reaction to that news and that article?
I mean, this sounds like it's something that would massively benefit beneficiaries, right? Access to care. If they're cutting a third of prior authorizations, which ultimately at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right? Like I want to make sure as a senior insurance agent, I want to make sure that the Medicare beneficiaries that we're working with are being taken care of, right? And hopefully as an industry, we're all on the same page with that. And it seems like this is something that's going to benefit the beneficiaries, which is awesome because I hate when the news goes the other direction and it seems like they're moving the goalposts. So what were your first thoughts on this though?
Yeah, I think any time that pre-auths get reduced, I think it's great for the beneficiary.
Yeah.
I do hope they're making some precautions that they can put into place to prevent fraud, because I feel like anytime something gets reduced or the leash gets loosened, it opens up the door to potential abuses and fraud, which ends up then after a bit of time of that, tightening the screws even more. We've seen it on compliance as well, right? Compliance rules get lifted, bad actors abuse it, and then there's all of a sudden more compliance on all of us than we had even originally. And so I hope that we don't see something like that as a result. But all in all, I think it's a good thing for beneficiaries. And the first thing I did think about is original fee for service Medicare moving in the direction which we talked about on a pod recently towards adding prior authorizations.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a few states to start off with, a few services, but again, it's like almost like a trial run, while a lot of MA carriers are moving in a direction to reduce prior authorization. So it's almost like when it comes to prior authorizations, let's say original Medicare is here, Medicare Advantage is here, they're kind of moving closer together to meet in the middle in that way, which a big thing that Medicare supplement purists have used over the years against MA is prior authorizations. So again, does
Yes.
this contribute towards MA just completely eradicating MedSup in the next 5 to 10 years? Kind of like I've predicted.
Well, the other thing too that's interesting about that whole piece of the conversation is with the big beautiful bill passing and some of these Medicaid cuts passing, it sounds like rural hospital networks might be under the gun for funding. So that ultimately could potentially lead to, again, when it comes to the free market, once there's a hole in there, someone's going to step in, hopefully, right? So maybe these major hospital networks that have historically been in the more densely populated areas start to move more rural, and we really start to see the death of MedSup. Maybe it really starts to accelerate that with the way that bill gets implemented. We won't know for a few years, the same way it took 2 or 3 years for the Inflation Reduction Act to really show up in our industry and to make waves. What's interesting in some ways too, the juxtaposition of what's going on with original Medicare versus Medicare Advantage right now, it seems like Medicare Advantage is kind of way ahead of the game, right? With original Medicare, like, hey, let's try doing some prior authorization so we stop losing so much money doing procedures that ultimately don't need to be done, right? Because that's in my mind, that's the whole point of a prior authorization, right? Is like, let's make
Yes.
sure that a doctor is doing this and it makes sense and the billing makes sense. So Medicare Advantage has already been doing that, and they're at the point where they're like, hey, you know what? We don't even need to do prior authorizations for all of these. This is a no-brainer, whatever it looks like. I'd be curious to know the full list of what that looks like, but I trust that the carrier knows what's going on, right? I mean, I'm assuming that there's people a lot smarter than me who've looked at this and said, hey, this is going to help beneficiaries get the care that they need, and it's going to speed up the quality, the timeline of them getting that quality care, and we don't need to worry about it from a cost standpoint, because even if we have a small percentage that gets through that shouldn't, it's going to be better for everybody if we do it this way. So yeah, that's kind of another thought I had as we're going over this, is like, man, Medicare Advantage seems like they're decades ahead of original Medicare at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair analysis. And not to say that Medicare Advantage is perfect or it ever has been, but I do think it will, over time, increasingly eat up more and more market share away from original Medicare and Medicare supplement. I think it's kind of inevitable. And people say I'm like a Medicare supplement hater. I'm 100% not. I was doing a training last week and that conversation came up, and it was like, do you just not like MedSup? I'm like, no, I love MedSup. I adore MedSup. If it made sense, I would love for us to only sell MedSup without us going bankrupt. But again,
Yeah.
we can't. We would go bankrupt.
Yeah.
because Medicare Advantage is so strong, so prominent, so popular, and the math of it all,
That's
right?
an old guard. Only the old guard could do something like that.
But it's interesting, right? Like you look at Medicare Supplement. Medicare Supplement is seen all over the country, record high rate increases, higher rate increases than we've ever seen, just shooting up. We're seeing more and more birthday rules implemented, which will then lead to more rate increases as we go in those markets. We're seeing what we talked about on the show last week, CMS cutting PDP assistance by a third that they implemented before last AEP, which will cause PDP rates to shoot up. So you have an expensive MedSup, an expensive PDP, and on top of that, you don't have additional services that seniors desire, like dental, vision, hearing. Like the premium of this all is going to price out the consumer. I really do believe that as time goes on. Medicare Advantage might have its pain points as we go, as we run through this AEP next year in terms of plan adjustments and reacting to the Inflation Reduction Act and all of that. But I'm looking 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like where are we going? And I really feel like that's a realistic projection. As much as I don't like it, I wouldn't want to see it. I love MedSup, but it is a real thing. If you're doing an honest, genuine, unbiased presentation to a person that's new to Medicare and you're showing them the differences between two in a lot of areas, that MedSup, it's like, okay, your MedSup's going to be this much. It's going to go up every year. Your PDP is going to be this much. It's probably going to be going up over the recent years.